First, it was a student pastor. Now, it's the lead pastor himself. Hope Fellowship, one of North Texas's most influential megachurches, is reeling after a shocking resignation. Just months after Pastor John Mackenzie stood before his congregation to fire another leader for sensual misconduct, he has now confessed to his own. A scandal no one saw coming, and one that raises painful questions. How deep does the rot go, and what does this mean for the church moving forward? In January of this year, Pastor John Mackenzie addressed his congregation with heavy words. He announced the firing of Jerry Nickerson, a student pastor at Hope Fellowship's Frisco West campus, after Nickerson admitted to inappropriate contact with a minor from a decade earlier. At that time, Mckinzie assured his people this was an isolated incident.
Most of you should have received an email this week from me detailing disclosure of inappropriate contact with a minor by a now former student pastor of ours, occurring around 10 years ago when he was a youth volunteer at another church. This incident did not occur here at Hope Fellowship. When we received the news, we acted immediately. We were heartbroken and devastated for the victim, and since people matter to God, and they matter to us, and victims of abuse matter to us, all appropriate authorities were notified and reported to, and this person was let go immediately. We believe that this behavior is disqualifying to those in pastoral leadership positions, and Hope Fellowship is committed to supporting and advocating for the victims of abuse. As a church, we hold ourselves to the highest standards when it comes to protecting the children and students in our care. And any violation of those standards is taken with the utmost seriousness, and we are committed to swift and decisive action. The safety and security of our children remain our top priority.
Fast forward to this week, and the shepherd himself has fallen. According to a letter from church leadership, John Mackenzie confessed during a private Sunday meeting to sensual sin and moral failure. His resignation was immediate. After more than 30 years in ministry, the man who once carried the vision of Hope Fellowship is now permanently disqualified from leadership. Here's the exact letter members received on September 16, 2025. Dear Hope Fellowship family, on Sunday, September 14th, John Mackenzie confessed to sensual sin and moral failure in a meeting with church leadership. Because of this disqualifying behavior, John Mackenzie resigned from his role as our lead pastor yesterday. The board has accepted his resignation. No one on staff had knowledge of this moral failure before John's confession. And aside from John's resignation, there will not be any other staff changes at this time. As a church, our hearts are broken and we are devastated. Many of us have been deeply blessed by John's ministry, teaching, and friendship. We grieve not only the sin itself, but also the pain and disappointment this brings to our church family and community. We know you may be experiencing a swirl of emotions: sorrow, confusion, anger, or even disbelief. A church leader is highly trusted, and when there is a betrayal of that trust, these emotions are warranted. We will grieve together as a church. Please know that our pastors and staff members are available to sit with you, pray with you, and listen to your questions and concerns. We are here for you. You can contact our leadership team directly at leadership@hopefellowship.net. If you need counseling support, please find support with one of our local counselors at hopefellowship.net/counselors. Above all, we want to remind you of this truth. Our faith is not built on the leader of any single church, but on Jesus Christ, who is faithful and unchanging. He is our shepherd, our hope, and our healer. In this difficult season, let's draw near to him and to one another, trusting that he will carry us through. We will continue on with the mission of Hope Fellowship, but we first must grieve and lament. We will spend time this weekend as a church to worship, pray, and process. Along this journey, we will communicate with you about our next steps and any information that will be helpful for you to know. In the meantime, we ask that you give the Mckinzie family the space they need to process and heal by respecting their privacy. The executive team will provide leadership, and the mission of Hope Fellowship will remain steady. We will welcome guest teachers and staff pastors to teach, and our pastors will continue in pastoral ministry and care. In this difficult time, we lean on the words of Jesus in Matthew 5:4, where he says, "Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted." We love you deeply. Please join us in praying for John, for his family, and for our church family. Hope Fellowship leadership, board, and elders. strong words, honest words, but also vague words. Because here's the problem. While the elders admitted Mckinzie confessed to sensual sin, they gave no details, no clarity on what actually happened, which has left an entire congregation and now the wider Christian community asking, what really went on? To quiet speculation, the church released a frequently asked questions page to provide clarity. 1. What happened? John Mackenzie confessed to church leadership about sexual sin and moral failure. Since this behavior disqualifies him from serving as lead pastor, he has resigned from Hope Fellowship. 2. Why did John step down? After confessing his moral failure, John is no longer qualified to serve in pastoral leadership. 3. What does moral failure mean? We recognize that this phrase may feel vague. Out of respect for the privacy of those involved, we will not share specific details. We can say that John admitted to sexual sin and to a pattern of consensual behavior that made him unfit to continue in his role as pastor. 4. How are John and his family doing? They are deeply grieved. We are walking with them during this difficult experience. We ask that you extend them grace, pray for them, and respect their privacy in this difficult season. 5. How will this affect Hope Fellowship? Though this is a painful moment, our church's foundation has never been one man. It has always been Jesus Christ, who is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Hebrews 13:8. Our mission continues. Our leadership team will continue the work of the church. 60. Who will be leading the church now? The directional leadership team, board, elders, and pastoral lead team will provide leadership during this transition. Preaching and teaching will be shared among our pastors and guest teachers as we seek God's direction for Iong Term Leadership 7. How can I get support if I'm struggling with this news? We know this brings up many emotions: sorrow, confusion, anger, or even a struggle with faith. Our pastors and staff are here to meet with you, pray with you, and listen. You may also email leadership at hopefellowship.net for direct communication. 8. How will the church make sure this doesn't happen again? We are committed to accountability, transparency, and healthy leadership practices. Our board and elders are reviewing policies and structures to strengthen safeguards for integrity and accountability. 9. Can John ever return to leadership at Hope Fellowship? Restoration to Christ is always possible, and we are walking with John toward that end. However, John's behavior was a disqualification for a restoration to pastoral leadership at Hope. The words pattern of consensual behavior suggest this wasn't a single mistake, but an ongoing issue. Still, out of what they call respect for privacy, the church has chosen silence on the details. And as you can imagine, silence is only fueling speculation. Let's zoom out. January. Mckinzie fires Nickerson for past sexual misconduct. September. Mckinzie resigns for his own sexual sin. To many, the timeline feels chilling. The man who once drew a hard line on another's failure was secretly battling his own. The congregation is left to wrestle with a brutal irony. The voice that promised accountability was, at the same time, carrying disqualifying secrets. The impact on Hope Fellowship cannot be overstated. Mckinzie wasn't just a pastor. He was a founder, a builder, a spiritual father to many. He baptized children, married couples, buried the dead. And now his name is tied to betrayal. Some members are devastated, others are angry, and some quietly admit they're questioning their faith altogether. Because when a leader falls, the shockwave doesn't just hit the pulpit, it shakes the pews. And this is where we hit the deeper issue. Why does this keep happening in megachurches? Why do we keep seeing moral failures, cover-ups, vague statements, and spiritual fallout? And most importantly, how should Christians respond when the leaders we trusted collapse under the weight of their own sin? This isn't just the story of John Mackenzie. This is a mirror held up to the entire American church. Now, I want to hear from you. Should churches disclose the full details when a pastor falls? Or is it right to protect privacy? Do you believe megachurch culture makes these moral failures more likely? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. And if you want to see more coverage on how pastors across America are responding to scandals just like this one, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next breakdown. Because at the end of the day, scandals come and go, but the truth and the questions they leave behind remain.